This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Oh, doggone it, you just missed it by that much. Annie Nye, our studio director, closed the curtains on the duck family that has taken up residence just outside our studio here at Gaylord Opryland.
They're getting bigger.
They are the cutest things.
Oh, yeah.
They're like piglets, ducks are, little baby ducks. And old pickup trucks. Tom T. Hall, no wonder he wrote about little baby ducks and old pickup trucks.
And we got teenage geese at the other end of the complex.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Those are the Canadian geese.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with them. No, they'll hiss you out of the parking lot real quick. Real quick.
I saw
Well, you feed them granola, though, so they like you.
I do.
one of our groundskeepers.
Which I'm sure is a staple of the geese diet.
Thanks to you, Kelly Sutton, one of our groundskeepers here at Gaylord Opryland the other day. You were long gone, and I was leaving, and he had this net thing, and he was running along behind them, shooing them. And they would fly a few feet, and then they would stop and look back like, ah.
You don't really mean it.
And I thought, he's going to run all the way to Cracker Barrel, trying to get these geese to fly.
Well, I'll tell you the story. So Erin was trying to leave, Erin Cooper, and she was stuck by her car, and the goose would not move. And she screamed, "Kelly, help me!" And I said, "Hold on." And so I went over and I got my granola out of my trunk, and I was like, "Come over here, baby, come over here."
It's the gateway drug. Who knew?
me.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who would know? All right, Kelly Sutton's here. That's Charlie Mattos. Annie Nye, our studio director, Jeff Roberts, is in master control at the Grand Ole Opry House. It's Winona's birthday.
Yes.
We've talked about that. Featured her a little bit ago, just last 10 minutes. On She Is His Only Need is a Cody classic country song of the day on radio from songwriter Hall of Famer Dave Loggins. Morning to Dave, if he's up listening. And it's also the 58th wedding anniversary of Dolly Rebecca Parton to Carl Dean.
That's right.
Yeah, so...
We've got a lot of Dolly stories coming up.
And I know you. That's nice transition because I knew you did.
Yeah, all the things, Dolly. It's all happening next week. CMA Music Fest. Can you believe it's next week? And you're in town for it this year. That's great. He was gone last year. We didn't let him take off this year. But we've got a lot of stuff coming up.
He was gone like 2 or 3 years in a row at CMA
Oh, really?
Fest.
You know,
Okay.
just yes, and I'm here.
Good. Glad you're here.
Yeah, but not for
enjoy
And
long.
I'll be here for birthday weekend and all the things.
Okay.
I'm
I
not
wouldn't
going
plan
anywhere.
quite that far ahead
fine.
to October if I were you.
Well, it's my birthday, too, that month, so I'm going to plan. I'm at my birthday weekend.
That's very, very true. Well, coming up, entertainment headlines, all the things Dolly for CMA Fest, plus Lainey Wilson, new documentary. She's very candid in it, so we'll give you a little sample of that.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
And that's Jason Eady over a morning cup of coffee. And you're sitting right there soaking up the DNA of Robert Earl Keen, who was there less than 24 hours ago.
Right here?
Are you feeling something?
I really do.
Is it something good?
I'm the biggest Robert O. King fan. I seriously am. I mean, they don't get much better than Robert O. King.
He is. We've known each other 35 years.
Really?
Yeah. And he's in town. He's playing the Ryman. Is it Saturday, Charlie? Saturday?
Tennessee Theater in Knoxville Saturday, Ryman on Sunday.
Thank you.
Yep.
You know, I've never actually met him, and I know every single person in that Texas world, but he's the one I've never met him, and I'm okay with that because it's nice to have one hero that's still kind of like up there in hero status. You know what I mean?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Coming from someone who has his share of heroes, you know, and people who think of you as their hero.
Well, I don't know about that, but
See, that's probably the same thing he would say.
yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
So do you almost not want to humanize him too much? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
have a cup of coffee with him. I want him to
well,
be the
I mean,
guy.
I would, of
Well,
course.
I get it. Yeah,
You know,
but
I would love to. If I had the chance, I would love to meet him, but I haven't actively sought it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just kind of nice. I really am a massive fan. He kind of changed the whole game for me. You know, because he's just he can do it. He can do whatever he wants. Like he's kind of genreless. You know, like Robert O. King is a genre, and I just think that's unbelievable. You know that he was able to pull that off, and yeah, he's amazing.
I was telling Kelly about working at KKYX River Festival in San Antonio with him when he used to dip while he sang.
Oh, really?
And he swallowed some of his dip
Oh.
in the middle of Copenhagen, I want to say.
Oh, yeah?
What a flavor. She dips. Copenhagen. You can see it in her smile. Copenhagen. The hook is, it drives the pretty girls wild.
Okay.
So at the end, he says, I'm sorry. Because, you know, he kind of talks off key a little bit when he talks. And but I swallowed a little of my dip while I was singing that song. And So if it sounded a little different than you've heard it on the record, that's why.
That's really
But just stuff like that, like
Yeah.
you said, he could do whatever he wanted to. And that was early on.
Really?
Very early on.
Yeah. I kind of feel like he was one of those that just kind of never really worried about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of did whatever he wanted to
Yeah,
do.
he shared yesterday that he and Kathleen are been married all these years. That they got married, moved to Nashville, stayed a couple of years. Woke up one morning, it was 2 degrees, and she said, "Well, honey, it'll get better." He said, "Yeah, but it'll be like 1,000 degrees and high humidity. You ready to go?" And apparently she'd already packed.
Oh, yeah.
And so they stayed a couple of years and went home.
Yeah, I didn't
went
know
back to Texas and created what we've just talked about.
Yeah. I didn't know he did that. I never knew he was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your whole world revolves around the state of Mississippi these days, musically, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, I live in Texas. I've been in Texas for 20-something years. But, yeah, I grew up in Mississippi. And there was a certain sound in Mississippi that, there's country. I always think of Mississippi or the Deep South in general, though. It really is like a crossroads of music. When I grew up, you had the R&B stuff, and you had blues stuff, and you had country stuff, and southern rock and bluegrass, and it was like all kind of coming through from all these directions, just crisscrossing right there in the Mississippi, and so.
And the father of the genre, Jimmy Rogers from Meridian.
From Meridian. Yeah. I mean, actually the father of a lot of genres. All the blues guys are from there. Elvis is from Mississippi.
Marty Stewart down in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And now Hardy,
Oh, right.
who's from Philadelphia
I
as
forgot
well.
about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Randy Houser. Mississippi. There's a bunch of Mississippians. So yeah, I just kind of
Tammy Wynette.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh man, we could go on.
Johnny Russell. I'm just thinking about Opry stars and folks we grew up with on the radio.
Yeah. I'm a lot. Paul Overstreet.
Yeah.
Mac McAnally.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Okay, you're going to make me go to Google now just so I can compete in this battle. You picked all the ones I already knew.
Oh, we're already out, Charlie. We're already out.
Yeah.
This is a competition. We're out. Far out.
So what was life like as a kid in Mississippi? You born in Jackson?
Born just south of Jackson, a little town called Florence, Mississippi. Yeah, and it was great. It was. I started playing music when I was 13, I think, and I was playing in bars when I was 15. My dad had to take me around. He had to escort me into the bars and be my chaperone, and so I was doing that from the time I was about 15 years old and playing, and yeah, it was great. I loved growing up there, and especially the musical side. I realize now, looking back, I don't think I realized. I took it for granted when I was growing up how diverse the music thing was there, and now looking back, I'm very appreciative of it. That I was able to grow up around all those different styles, and I never really, didn't really separate them. They were all kind of like, you could flip through the station and you'd have a blues thing and then a public radio playing on bluegrass and then the country they're all just kind of all of that stuff just right there, and it's pretty amazing.
And you were less than a 3-hour drive too to New Orleans. Did you venture down there some? Because you want to talk music, that's rich as well.
All the time. All the time. Yeah, I actually have a song on my new record called about New Orleans. It was that was kind of my second home. In fact, when my parents split up when I was a teenager, my mom moved to New Orleans, so I was spending a lot of time down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've loved New Orleans. And the music's amazing down there too. The thing I love about New Orleans music is just that it's so identifiable. You know what I mean? Like there's this, they talk about there was a Nashville sound, and there's not many places that have a sound. There's like as soon as you hear the music, you go, that's this region.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But New Orleans, you know it immediately.
Yeah, and they got such great venues. The Sanger's a beautiful theater, but you got Tipitina's, you got Chickawawa. There's so many cool places to go play.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, they're very insulated, and which I think is a good thing. It's very hard to play New Orleans because they kind of take care of their own musically, that's why that sound has preserved like it has. I think so. Even though I would love to play there more, I get it. I kind of appreciate that they do that.
Did you ever busk on the street down there? That's the one thing I will say. Every time I've gone to New Orleans, I'm like, man, their street buskers are top notch.
What's Charlie
really
Crockett?
They're
was
amazing.
in New Orleans for a time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never busked. I don't know that I would be good at it. I think
I feel like you need to. You really should,
Really?
just
Just
for
do
the
it
fun
today?
of it.
Yeah.
Just to be like, yeah, I did that. I mean,
Yeah.
Keith Urban did it a couple years ago. He just popped out on the street, and people didn't realize it was him, and they were walking by and just throwing money in his case. But that's kind of the
Let's
rite
go
of
do it.
passage.
Yeah, I might go do that right after this.
Please do, and please video it and put it on social
Okay.
media.
So you're playing music. You talked about your teenage years, how early it came to you. But when did you get into the military? And obviously you volunteered?
I did volunteer. Yeah, it kind of came from music. I was always wanted to be a writer, and I was coming up here and it was 18, 19 years old, and I was starting to make some headway here. But nobody was wanting me to write anything. And of course they didn't. I was 18, 19 years old. I didn't have anything to write about. But I knew that that's really where I wanted to be coming from. And so one day I was driving home and just thought, I need to get some life experience. You know what I mean? I need to go live in the world. And I always liked planes. And I looked over and there was an Air Force recruiter. It was literally that spontaneous. And I just went, let's see what this is about. And went in and took a test. And they called me a few days later and like, well, you're qualified for this job and this job. And they both sounded great. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then 6 years later, yeah, I was in for 6 years.
But you had a very interesting run when you were in there.
It was great.
Tell folks what you did.
Yeah,
that don't know.
I was a linguist, an Arabic translator.
And if you look at his tattoo on his wrist, is that Arabic?
This is Tibetan, actually. This one is, but
I always get the two confused.
yeah, they're so close.
I thought it was wingdings. I wasn't sure. I was like, I have no idea what this is.
Coffee, country, and Cody.
Jason Eady is in studio with us this morning. Took us on a trip to Mississippi. Oh, did I hear my name? I thought I heard my name, William Smith Monroe, in that song.
Yeah,
I thought I did.
Absolutely.
I should. Jason Eady, way down in Mississippi from the album Mississippi. He grew up just outside of Jackson, and you became property of Uncle Sam's, the United States Air Force.
That's right.
So when does your plane land in Austin, Texas?
In 2002, I moved there for a job. I got out of the Air Force and moved back to Mississippi and then got transferred to Texas. And and so then got over there and honestly had no plans on getting back into music, but it's just such a
What
part
would you
of,
have done? You said you got a job.
I was doing IT stuff. I was doing database administration. So yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
I don't understand how somebody could have the brain to write and sing and create music and also do IT. You never see those two things in one person's brain.
I don't
usually.
know how good I was at IT.
Okay,
I think
well, there it is.
I think I just kind of lucked into. I lucked into something. It really was. One day, the company I was working for had some IT stuff went out. It was a very small company at the time, and I had a little bit of experience in the Air Force. And my boss came in and goes, "Can you run this?" And I just said yes. And then I left that day and went to Barnes and Noble and bought about 10 how to run computers for dummies books. That's no lie.
Oh my
I kind of
gosh.
faked my way into it, and then I read just enough to stay one step ahead of them.
The best part is most people fake it till they make it in country music or in the music business.
I did that too.
You did that in IT, which is so funny.
At this moment, our IT department, which shares the ground floor with us at WSM Radio, they've all slumped across their keyboards.
Well, if you can work
With
on
their
a
heads
map,
in their hands.
Annie's having some issues. She could use some help this morning out there. So.
We'll have him do that after he sings.
Oh.
We'll make him sing first.
Well, I know how good it makes you feel to get comparisons to Joe Ely and Dwight Yoakam, Willie Nelson,
Oh,
Don
man.
Williams.
Yeah.
But I know Don was a particularly heavy influence on you, wasn't he?
big time. Yeah, I love that style. Man, yeah, I love Don Williams. Yeah.
What are you going to play for us this morning?
I'll do. Let's see. Since you said that, this one kind of has a Don Williams-ish kind of feel to it. I just put out a little a trilogy, which was interesting. We went in the studio and I went in to record 3 songs, and we realized while we were in the studio that they all kind of thematically went together and musically went together, and so we ended up just recording them that way. And so it's just 3 songs, and they kind of fall into one another, and so instead of putting them out as 3 different songs, we just made it a trilogy. So we have this 9.5-minute 3-song trilogy that's out there.
Oh, back to the days of AOR, album-oriented rock.
Yeah.
Yes. Jason Eady, that's the name of the new album. Wherever you get your music, it's there. And again, he's at 3rd and Lindsley tonight.
You know, I wrote that song with Adam Hood, and
well, no wonder. Opalika, Alabama, checking
that's
in.
right. Yeah.
You got on some Adam
I do
Hood
have
merch.
Adam Hood
this
hat.
morning.
When we finished that song, our proudest moment, we wrote 4 songs that night. We were in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and we were writing for this record, you know, and so we wrote 4 songs. Out of the whole 4 songs, our proudest moment was in that song. We rhymed hammer and Alabama.
I like when you left one night in the middle of the day, or one day in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That line, that's a great
yeah.
line.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming to see us.
Oh, thanks for having me back. I always love being here.
And don't ever stop writing and playing and singing,
No, I
man.
won't.
So good.
We love you.
Yeah, thanks.
And Midnight River Choir will be with you tonight.
I'm glad you
And
mentioned them,
I
Charlie.
was not familiar with them till I saw they were opening the show. Well, those guys are great.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way the show works, they open the show and then we take a little short break and then we come back and they are my band. So the only set change really is that I jump up with them and they're my band for my show.
Well, you guys were swapping Bill Monroe stories off the air. You work them hard, boy. You work them hard. So that's good. Mr. Monroe would be proud of you.
Yes, they had hired someone he did not want on a session. And when he walked in and saw this person, he said, I want him out of here. Get him out of here. I don't want him. And they said, well, we're going to have to pay him because he's already here. We got to pay him. And he paused a minute and said, would you work him hard? Work him hard.
Well, we're talking about all things entertainment news this morning, including Shania saying that she has offered forgiveness to her ex. So just in case you forgot about a hot mess express that happened, let me just put you on board the train, everybody. Choo choo, get on board. So Shania years ago met Mutt Lange. They got married 1993. They were together until 2008.
And then they got demarried.
They got demarried, and
And-
it was probably really due to the fact that he was having an affair with her best friend, who sometimes I
There's
think
that.
lived with them, which was
Well, that's
very
convenient.
Confusing. I'm not sure if she was like I don't know if she was Shania's assistant or they were just best friends. Anyway, very, very close. And it was Marie Ann Theobald. And then after some time, her husband, who was Theobald, Frederick Theobald, and Shania got together. So, as you said so eloquently earlier, the cheatees and the cheaters married each other.
Oh, don't they sound lonely? Yeah. Oh, don't they play sad? Oh, 3/4 only. Watch how he holds her as they dance to the last cheater's waltz.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, T.G. Shepherd.
Oh, there it is. Okay, nice. Yeah, so that's kind of what happened. Well, now recently she just sat down and did a podcast. And in this podcast, she said, you know what? I've forgiven. Forgiveness is something that I've had to come to terms with, and I give it now freely. But that also does not mean that I have forgotten. Ooh,
okay.
He tells her he loves her as the music plays on. He tells her he needs her, but there's someone at home.
Oh.
The ball game's all over, and she knows what she's lost as the band plays all together now the last cheater's waltz.
Why did that make me think that they were at a baseball game?
Because
The ball game is over.
Well, you can cheat anywhere.
you and Hall of Fame songwriter Sonny Throckmorton do not share the same mindset
Clearly.
about such things.
Well, just in case you were wondering, Shania said, don't worry, we're fine.
And Sonny also wrote, trying to love 2 women is like a ball and chain
Okay.
for the
there's
Oak
that.
Ridge Boys.
Oh, my gosh.
He said he went to get the mail one day, and his neighbor pulled up at the same time.
Yes.
They lived out. You had to go to the end of the lane to the mailbox down at the main road, right? And he said, this old boy said, hey, you been hearing anything? He goes, no, I haven't been hearing anything. He said, well, if you do, don't say nothing to nobody.
Oh,
Oh.
my. You are now an accomplice,
And he said,
sir.
well, what in the world's going on? And he said, this guy looked at him and said, trying to love 2 women's like a ball and chain. And he
Oh.
drove off. And Sonny went, I'm going back to house and write that.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
At least that's what he told his wife when she said, "Why did you write a song called Love and Two Women?" Well, let me tell you about our neighbor and what's going on down the lane.
Coffee, country, and Cody.
And Brian Falduto, welcome in.
Thank you.
You
Glad
came
to be here.
into our studio door just like you did into our local movie theaters 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago.
Love
in
it.
School of Rock a moment ago. And you were greeted by Annie Nye. And I'm going to let Annie pick up the story from yesterday's prep show notes for today's show.
Hi,
So
Annie.
go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed, but when you walked in, I didn't say it's nice to meet you. Because when I was about 14 years old, you worked at the Chili's in Riverdale, New Jersey, and
Oh my God.
you were my server, and I was like your biggest fan, and I was like, please take a picture with me. So I have this, like, I dug around for it. I could not find it. It's on an old phone somewhere. But I do have an image of us. I have braces and sweat all over me, and you're like, why does this girl want to take a picture with me?
And I said it's nice to meet you, which is the story you just told. Oh no.
And then I saw you again probably at the Willowbrook Mall when you worked for Nash FM.
I think you were following me.
I think maybe.
Guess what?
She may have been.
She still is.
And then I was like, no.
Well, now I'm following you. I'm like, hey, you work at the Opry.
I'm so glad our paths have crossed again.
So good.
You have to understand, working at Chili's comes with a certain amount of, demeanor. There's a lot of customers. I'm just trying to excuse
Oh,
you.
No,
listen,
no.
I get that. I get the service industry. Grew up, and two of my best friends worked at that same Chili's, so they followed.
It's a
in your
storied place. Everyone should go, though. I don't want to,
But
We love
listen,
Chili's.
I mean, not too long after this encounter, you're at Chili's, then you're working at the mall, and the next thing you know, you're cast in School of Rock. How did that become a part of your life, and what were you doing prior to that?
Yeah,
as
so-
far as theater was concerned or acting.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was doing a lot of theater, a lot of vocal lessons, and then School of Rock was actually my first professional audition ever, so it gave me a little bit of a misguided interpretation of how the
easy.
industry works.
And
I was
where,
like,
where
oh,
did you
great.
do it?
Everyone
What
can
was
do
your
that.
day like when you auditioned?
Well, it was like 11 times I was called in. There was an initial audition, and then I had to go back and read with different people. They kept changing the script. My character actually didn't exist until they created the character for me because they kind of liked what I was bringing into the room. So that's why I had to go back so many times, and they kept changing the script a little bit, and it was really fun. And we finally had the official reading, which was still kind of an audition. And then after that, you were kind of in.
Oh, nice. What was it like working with Jack Black?
Oh, he's just the greatest. We were just talking about Dolly Parton, and Jack Black, I feel like, is up there with people that just everyone loves because they're just these wonderful energies and they're so positive. And he really is. He just shouted out my songs recently on social media, which he did not need to do. And he's just supporting us all these years later, which is very kind.
So talk about your broadcast career. You spent 4 years in country radio?
Yeah, so I worked at Nash FM in New York City right out of college, which I always loved country music, but that was kind of my first adult job, and it just really solidified, I think, my place in the genre, you know what I mean? I was your early 20s. I'm sure we can all remember. You're going through a lot, and country music was kind of there for me, I feel like. And I just kept leaning on it. And then I started to write my own music, and that's kind of what led to what I'm doing now.
For some of us, it's harder to remember our early 20s, but I have photos that help me.
They're black and white, though, right?
Oh,
I love
so
you. I love you.
Did you like country growing up in New Jersey, or did that come to you later with the radio opportunity?
I did always love country music growing up. I think when Carrie Underwood won American Idol, that was when I really was sold on the genre, because I was just a huge fan of the show. I voted for her 500 times. And then I started watching her on the award shows, and I started seeing all the other artists, and I was like, wow, I love all these acts. And yeah, I lived in New Jersey, but you'd be surprised. There's a country music following in all these states. I think we're learning that now, right? Country music is getting super popular again, and yeah, I loved it.
So talk about Faith Hill, because was that your first album?
My first album was Faith Hill.
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to go around the house with my Walkman, just sort of belting out her songs in the most sassy diva way that you can imagine. And my parents were like, wow, he's just going for it. And,
Was that the album that had
got
Wild
his
One on
range.
it?
no, his album that had Breathe on it.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
All right.
okay. Yeah.
Which I think was called Breathe. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. That was the title.
And yeah, it was just so good.
I love the fact that you're just leaning into. So is there a point in your life when you were like, music is really my main focus, what I want to do. Because you start off and you have this huge role in this huge film. Was it always underlying that music was there, or...
Yeah, I mean, before School of Rock, I was taking voice lessons.
Okay.
And then I had to sing a song for School of Rock. I didn't sing in the movie. I'm not bitter about it. It's fine. But, I had to sing for the audition, and I was always singing. I think in the end, like, just to be completely transparent, like, music is a little easier to pursue as an independent artist.
Yeah.
And as an actor, I felt like I was always waiting for opportunities, or I would spend all day recording a self-tape to send off to who knows who that I would never hear back about, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's very time-consuming pursuit process. Whereas like with the way music is formatted these days, you can release music on your own, and you can like put shows together, and you can like promote your stuff, and there's social media, and there's like, it just felt like I had more autonomy in this game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's more fulfilling, I guess, because it's also my words, you know?
How old were you with School of Rock?
That was, well, when it came out, I was 11.
So
Oh, wow.
10 when you started the process, probably?
Yeah.
So that's a tough age.
Yeah.
And especially to go from virtually no one knowing who you are to like millions of people knowing who you are. I mean, it's a crazy adjustment in any circumstance, right?
Right. And that was before social media, thank God.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard also. I mean, I've talked about this a lot. My character was sort of this openly queer character in the movie. And so I was 11, and this was back in 2003 when there wasn't as much like representation in the media. So I was like a very early example of that. And it was just a lot to carry at the age of 11 because people were just kind of associated me with this identity, which I wasn't even sure was me. I was only 11. I didn't know like anything about my sexual orientation or anything like that. So it's just a lot to process.
Was Fancy Pants always the working name of the character?
No, the character's name is Billy, and then Jack Black, I think, just on a whim, called him Fancy Pants. And then
That's what, yeah.
stuck.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and you know, the thing is, you just mentioned that, like, you're 11, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, all of these people are projecting on you
Yeah.
what their feelings are.
Totally.
That had to be scary for an 11-year-old.
It was super scary, and I've been to a lot of therapy.
Good. Yeah.
So
I can see
you're this 10, 11-year-old kid in New Jersey. Are
Yeah.
you in the Los Angeles, the Hollywood environment at this point when the movie's going on? Or where did you guys...
there was a lot of like press stuff. We had to go out there for the premiere, and we went out there for the MTV Movie Awards, which was very fun and exciting. And we went out for like a bunch of different like press things. And
But obviously you'd never been exposed to that prior.
no, it was.
Wow.
I was just focused on like who I got to meet. I was so excited.
Who did you meet?
I remember I was crazy excited about meeting Matthew Perry because I was a big
yeah.
Friends fan,
yeah.
and he was so nice. And Brittany Murphy too. I don't know why all the people I was excited to meet back then have since passed away.
Right. I
but-
was like, oh, there's a bad theme here.
I didn't mean
Who
to-
do you want to meet next? And we'll just kind of put that out
Hey,
there.
You cannot meet Dolly. That can't happen.
that's where we were going. 'Cause why'd you come in here looking like that? Is what we're going to feature first this morning from Brian Falduto, our special guest. And did I hear you say something about a gunny sack off air a little bit ago?
Yeah, so I was trying to come up with a fun way to promote it on TikTok, and basically it's how many days I've been walking around in a gunny sack until Dolly notices my cover of my song. And so there's videos of me on TikTok walking around New York City, like across crosswalks in a gunny sack, just to like basically try and get Dolly's attention.
In New
get-
York, though, that's
gonna
normal.
say.
That's the problem.
And in New York, you don't get a second look.
Yeah.
There's literally one video where I'm walking through the like World Trade Center area, and not a single head turns. And I was like, wow, I could be wearing anything right now.
And so is Brian Falduto this morning. Famous for many of you from the School of Rock, certainly with our Annie Nye in studio this morning, who did such a great job setting up this visit. And then we heard, why'd you come in here looking like that? When do you first remember hearing that song?
Oof, gosh, probably sometime in high school, I'd gotta say.
And did you notice that Dolly says, why'd you come in here? Was that
Here.
East Tennessee on there?
I sure do. And I was like, I don't think I can appropriate that with my version.
Here. Why'd you come in here looking like that?
What is the love for Dolly? Because I have a very deep-rooted love for Dolly. I have the Dolly license plate on my car.
Yeah.
I feel that. What is it about her that you wanted to do this song?
Yeah, well, I'm a very indecisive person, but I love covering songs. And so choosing a cover was really difficult. And a lot of it came down to like Dolly's legacy and just kind of wanting to honor her, because she's had like, 5 decades of just being this wonderfully poised person who's always standing up for like the right things, I feel like. And her music is amazing as well. And I mean, even like recently, like she funded like the COVID vaccine, which
Right.
has helped so many people.
To
She's
$1
literally
million,
saved the
right?
world.
Right.
$1 million donation.
Rescuing bald eagles, you know what I mean? Like, she's saving the planet, essentially.
Sure. And she's also giving us cupcakes with Duncan Hines. I mean, who can do that?
Right. And I think she has a deal with like Krispy Kreme now, and I was like, I gotta go get those.
She does.
And what other song do we know in country music that has gunny sack in it, which we
Right.
referenced earlier?
True.
I mean, there's that.
That's the thing too, and my songs are all very like tongue-in-cheek and playful, but also earnest. And I feel like she does a great job at that of like having songs that are like, you know, playful and, you know, not too serious, but also they're serious at the same time. You know.
Yeah.
Brian Falduto is in studio. By the way, I looked up gunny sack. I've heard it my whole life
Yeah.
because it's a burlap bag,
Yeah.
burlap sack,
Yeah.
and it is a translation from Asia, an Southeast Asian translation. Gunny means like coarse fabric.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's how it got it. That's how it translated to the United States as a gunny sack.
I did have to look it up too. I've been listening to that song my whole life, and I was like, whenever that word came up, I was just whatever this means.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, and my parents called it a toe sack.
Oh, really?
T-O-W, a toe sack. Like you put something in it. You
Oh, tow it. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That's Brian Falduto, and he's on his way to the Golden Hour concert series here in Nashville at Distillery Midtown today at 6 o'clock. And then you're off for a day. And then on the 1st, which is Saturday, you'll be in Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee.
And then the next day on Sunday in Asbury Park, New York.
Asbury Park, New Jersey. Yeah.
New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking about that.
Is it impossible not to get the Springsteen vibe if you're in Asbury Park? I mean, it's got to just be in the air, right? A little bit.
Well, I've always dreamed of performing at Asbury Park because I grew up in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the music hub of New Jersey.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to play that show. Yeah.
Well, you'll be there this weekend, but Nashville first.
Nashville first.
Thanks for coming to see us on
Thank you so
WSN's
much.
Coffee Country and
Really
Cody this
appreciate
morning.
it.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Lainey Wilson's life. We don't have a ton of time because she's doing all the things, but we do want to let you know she has a new documentary, and it's out right now. You can see it on Hulu. It was the Good Morning America crew following her around for a while and putting it together, and she did a sit-down interview with Robin Roberts. Sure can. That is Lainey Wilson, your reigning ACM and CMA Entertainer of the Year. I can't wait to watch the entire special. It's available on Hulu streaming, so you can go listen to it. But she really gets into, she had body image issues, and you just really want to sing songs and play music, and then it comes with all of this other stuff.
Hey, Lefty Frizzell said it 50, 60 years ago. Nashville, mighty nice to the living. Mighty hard on the living, mighty nice to the dead.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
Next time I see Lainey, I got to make sure she knows that one.
Well, I do want to tell you guys, next week is CMA Music Fest. We'll be covering all of that for you and making sure that you know where to go and what to do, when to do it. But one thing you got to know about is Dolly Parton. She's going to be all over the place, starting with the very first day as Artist of the Day. She will be inside Fanfare X. You can see her be doing an interview with E.T. Rachel Smith. E.T.'s Rachel Smith will be there. So that's happening on June the 6th. And then they have a Dolly pop-up that's going to be happening. The experience is inside Fanfare X with everything Dolly, items that you want, limited edition vinyl of Rockstar, her books. Yeah, I knew you'd like that. Yeah, I'll be over
I'll Venmo
there.
you.
Okay, I'll
all
be
right.
over there. All of her books, including her little Funko Pop dolls. So if you collect those, they'll be there as well.
Chances are, if you need to be verified, Charlie, you're not.
Well, that's why Kelly's going to buy it.
Oh,
for you.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, just with your history with Garth and Taylor.
Dolly will take my money gladly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to pay retail.
That's right.
It ought to be you. On Coffee Country and Cody, back to wrap it up next. That's right, not for broadcast. Welcome back.
Wait a minute, I didn't even hear it.
It is.
I want to know what she said.
Why do you assume I said it?
Kelly Sutton, Charlie Mattos, Annie Nye, and over there in Master Control making it happen and putting up with us every morning is Jeff Roberts. I'm Bill Cody. Charlie, take him to the Friday Night Opry just a few hours away.
Andy Bosco going to make her Grand Ole Opry debut. Whispering Bill Anderson, Riders in the Sky. Connie Smith, Marty Stewart, they'll drive together. Brad Upton, Gene Watson, Mark Wills.
And Radney Foster playing Chiefs in Coffee Country and Cody tomorrow.
Yeah.